Hello, I have a message today called Lightened Up. Okay, the short version, all the dense places can be lightened up. There's nothing to fuss about. There is no fussing in what is truly new. Ego will never understand what is truly new, but you can open up the door to it and allow it. Restored. Think about being truly restored to yourself as you are, and of the same for everyone and everything. Okay, so back to all the dense places can be lightened up. So if you think of your day today, you can think of your day as this light. And if I get confused during my day and I attempt to burrow into a dense place where I have tried to make some meaning, and I can tell by how I feel. There's like this little nugget and it feels dense, not light and open and happy. It feels dense, and I've tried to make some meaning there and find some security there in an especially positive or an especially negative meaning about something. So when I find myself in one of these dense patches, what I can do is remember what I am, what you are, what everything is behind its surface is actually so expansive and open and light-filled, and bring this density to the light and put the light in charge. Because when I don't feel good, what I've said is this tangle of thoughts and what I think they mean, that's real. But the light I've forgotten about. It's like it's not even here. When the light is really the only thing that is here. I made up the density, and I can always say I, because if I'm the one feeling any discomfort at all, any disturbance at all, I made it up. And taking responsibility is the key to the switchover. It's the key to the switchover from this density into the expansiveness and the recognition and the acceptance of the light. And isn't it just the best news that everyone is this beautiful light, that everything is this beautiful light, and you only have to look behind the surface you're seeing that would contradict that. It's just a surface, and it's very thin, and what they really are is so huge, so expansive, so full of gifts. We've just trained ourselves to think and therefore see otherwise. And now we're relaxing out of all that training and acknowledging what's real. So all the dense places can be lightened up. A dense place, a place where I look somewhere and see a problem, or a place where I feel some discomfort. No one else ever made that. I'm the only one who can make a dense place, and any eye can say this. It's all about our perception. We choose to take on a perception, and then we choose to repeat that perception in loops, and we're never not in charge. Even if you think of a very much younger version of yourself, there were still choices being made about how to see things and about what was real and what wasn't real. Maybe not in words the way you seem to think right now, but if you think of yourself as a soul, making decisions, letting yourself being guided in one way or another way, letting the things you seem to see influence you, that choice making has never stopped. But once we subside into acceptance of what is real about everyone and everything, it's kind of like fully aligning with thy will, with a plan for everyone to move through and out of what they've been using to limit themselves and others in their sight, to see others as limited. As we do that together, it's like we all relax into the one will for happiness that's always here for all of us, and we flow there together. So today we can find where we have dense places in our mind and allow trying to think of how I want to look at this. I almost want to say geographically, but I don't even know what that means. It's like where I find it, I can realize the light's always already there under the surface, and I can focus on that instead, and it kind of spreads. And then I relax into the fact that it's the light that's real, not what I imagined on top of it that's real. It's the light that's real and can be depended upon. And I can always stop to remember that. Okay, then there's nothing to fuss about. Well, the ego would immediately contradict this and give a list of everything there is to fuss about. So that's okay, we're used to that. But when we encounter something to fuss about during our day, we can become very curious and think about, I used thought to build my perception of this, and now I can believe that it's a special problem requiring a special answer of ego's invention, or I can just kind of look at it and think, the light is going to correct this perception. And it doesn't mean like if I perceive a drink on the floor, I just stand there and don't grab a towel, right? I'm probably going to grab a towel. But in that moment of reactivity, I can take a second, I can take a beat and understand, oh look, I believe something has gone wrong, and I can remember, okay, here's what's really going on here. And I can take that moment of rest. And then whatever actions I perceive myself or others doing, or whatever actions I perceive myself and others doing, there doesn't have to be a strong effort to mold action in this direction or that direction, because that's more ego. It's more about stopping to take that moment of awareness, stopping to remember what is real, the light, stopping to put that in charge, stopping to allow that to inspire us. So it's very quiet. It can lead to action, but we got to stop and be quiet and get ourselves in the right space. So what we're perceiving around us begins to align with what is truly in us and everyone and everything behind all the surfaces, to allow the surface to come into alignment with what has always been behind all of the surfaces. Okay, there is no fussing in what is truly new. So there's something that is always fresh, always renewed, always vibrant, always fully alive, always fully untouched by anything we would call threat or defect. And it's not of time or space. It's like this unending resource that's always here. And it's what's most true about everyone and everything. Anything you could possibly think of, no matter how extreme the form may be in one direction or another, what's most true about it is this beautiful fountain of an unending, fully nourishing resource. That's what's most true. And to relax into that, instead of paying a lot of attention to a constant and relentless analysis of varying surfaces by ego, we're very used to that. But in every day we have a new opportunity to tune into and align with this beautiful fountain, this fountain of beauty within everyone and everything, and to trust that. And that means we, in that moment, we don't know anything in particular about anything or anyone, because it's truly new. and not according to ego's analysis, which we've trained ourselves to remember. This person is this way and likely to act this way. That person is that way and likely to act that way. I don't like this person because I remember this person as being this way. I do especially like this person because I remember this person as being this way. We've set up this matrix of self-protection, protection of our separate self, based on all these characteristics and opinions we remember about all the seemingly separate things and people in our arena, in our sphere of whatever we're perceiving. And to favor, instead of that mess, this remembrance that there is something eternal and trustworthy that is under the surface of everything. And we don't know what we're doing, but our perception of everything can come from one of two places. Our perception of absolutely everything can come from this surface level defense based on so many opinions and analyses and interpretations, or it can come from this ever renewing fountain of love that's just behind the surface of everyone and everything. So it's just remembering to look at everything in a new way. And it is defenseless, but we're going to run into our defensiveness, the habitual defense of our separate self, and therefore the habitual defense of the memory of what we think that other separate self is. Because to us that's safety. If we think we know a separate self, and so we can predict how it's going to operate, and we can use our habitual defenses with that separate self, then we feel something we call comfortable, because we're used to this matrix of defense, of holding all the separate selves in separateness. But if we consider the truth of us, and delivered in metaphor would be this fountain of beauty, of light, of love, just behind the surface of everyone and everything. Something that you as you truly are, do trust it. You know this. It is you. It's not separate from you. You extend from it forever. That is real, and much more difficult to put into words. That is real. We're learning to trust this. We're learning to set down our analysis, our interpretation, our defense, and just trust this. Okay, there is no fussing in what is truly new. We want to be happy, right? So if there's no fussing anymore, there's just happiness. We invented the fussing about separate things, the contrast, the conflict, to cover up the happiness, and the happiness is what we are and what we share forever, and that can't be erased, and that can't be changed. We could, using our mind, because our shared mind is very powerful, temporarily cover up, obscure, forget the truth of us all, but that's all we could do, and it's inevitable that this forgetting passes away. So now we're becoming aware of that. We're going to forget to forget. We're going to set our forgetting down. We're going to remember the truth about everyone and everything. All right. Ego will never understand what is truly new, but you, because you are not ego, can open up the door to it and allow it. So this is my job. In any moment when I notice tension, I can open up the door in my heart where I don't know anything in particular about anything. There's just a much deeper knowing. That's where true trust is. I can just go settle in that place, open up the door to that place, and rest there, and allow whatever comes to come. It's a practice. It's a new setting. It's a training. So ego will never understand what is truly new, but you can open up the door to it and allow it. So this ceaseless commentary, analyzing and interpreting and ranking and putting in its various places, everyone and everything. There is something other than that. There is a deeper voice. And if all you do is remember there's something other than ego's ceaseless up and down commentary about everything, and it's a place you can go rest in, and it's a true deep rest, and you can rest in it for a moment, many, many times during what you perceive to be your day, you're good. That's everything you need. That's the one resource everyone has, no one will ever lack, and it's the one resource everyone needs. So everyone and everything, they all have the one resource they could ever need. And what goes for them goes for you. And now we're learning to rest in this resource and to allow this resource to determine what and how we perceive. Okay. Restored. Think about being truly restored to yourself as you are, and of the same for everyone and everything. So if I'm truly restored to myself as I am, I don't have defenses. Defenses never existed. I've taught myself that I need many defenses and that defenses keep me safe. And that's okay. I don't have to force anything. But I can be aware. When I notice I'm contracted and judgmental, when I notice a moment of defensiveness, I can now see it's in my best interest to relax out of that, because there's something much bigger here than what I view as my separate self. My separate self doesn't have to be in charge. It never was. It was just a fantasy about a separate self being in charge. There's something much bigger, and what a relief to relax into it, to put in charge, and it's myself as I am, springing from my source, from my creator. All of that is so much bigger than the separate self I imagined, and the separate self I imagined to call you separate from me, and the separate self I imagined to call another separate from you, and all these separate things I imagined. There's something much bigger than all of that that takes over the perception of all of that and conducts us through and out of all of that and brings us home, restores us to the full awareness of our true identity. So restored, think about being truly restored to yourself as you are, and of the same for everyone and everything. So sameness is the place where we can go to relax today. It's a very peaceful place because there's no conflict here. So when the ego is picking and choosing separate characteristics for separate ones and commenting upon their qualities, or commenting upon what threat could come to you from those separate ones, or commenting upon what special benefit you may be able to extract from those separate ones or separate things, beneath all of that, underneath all of that, always shining, is this place where you recognize under the surface everything is exactly the same and everything is beautiful and always has been. Nothing has ever been damaged or sick or evil or anything we imagined to deny the power of God that we all share equally. We've imagined what seems like a lot, but what we are together is even more than that. It's everything. And so we can relax out of our feverish imagination back into this place we all share, and begin to trust this place to determine what and how we perceive today. So that's the opportunity that's here for all of us. We can be lightened up. We can allow our perception to be lightened up. And yeah, I think that's it. Okay. So thanks for listening, and happy healing.